This is what exercise 4 looks like. This is what you'll be handing in. It's a very large drawing. If we look at the overall dimension, there's a video that's going to guide you through how to set your grid up. It's 12.5 inches wide and 13.5 inches tall. You need to use the grid that is provided in the kit. If you didn't have the kit, what you'll need to do is print out the grid that I've provided. Now, this file is in Slate Content. You need to take it somewhere and have it copied to 11 by 17 inches so that it's as big as it can possibly be on an 11 by 17 inch piece of paper. A very large drawing, and then there's room at the bottom for your title block, and that you will have a measurement for as well. So those videos guide you through all that, how to measure, how to set it up. Now, all of these pieces, they come from a floor plan that you've already been provided with in Slate Content. Floor plan gives you the placement of everything on your floor, on your grid floor. So each square on this grid equals a foot by a foot, and each square on this floor plan, and each square in the two elevations equals a foot by a foot. Each of the squares on the grid equals a foot by a foot. Even these very distorted ones near the front, what's happened to them is that they're outside the 60-degree cone of vision that we all have. Once things get out of that periphery, we can no longer see them well without distortion. They all become distortion. These two bedside tables are the same size. They're supposed to be squares, 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet, but as you can see, this one looks like a rectangle. So you have to adjust for that. And this is a rather dynamic perspective, more than what we had before. We were using a 45-degree 2-point perspective, and it's much gentler. This one is a little more dynamic. We wanted the bed to come aggressively forward as a contrast to what we have been doing, so you get to experience that. Part of it too is that the vanishing points are a little bit close together, so that adds to the drama of the piece. You'll be following the guidelines of the floor plans and elevations for placement. And there's video support for all of that, how to do it, how to size everything. And there's also a document that gives you all the heights, all the widths. We're not adding a figure though, so you won't have that. You do have the 1-point box that you need to put in, but we don't have a figure. There's your 1-point object. Now that can go anywhere. Normally it's going to be small, and it's going to be probably on top of something you already have here in 2-point perspective, just some small object, but it opens a possibility for your future to be able to include things that are not all racing to the same two vanishing points, but that it looks more normal, it looks more realistic with things turned at different angles, not all the same angle. Here's our list of interior design styles, and the best thing to do is start with things you think you already know and already like, and have a look around there. In the search engine, remember to put that you're looking for master bedroom furniture. You may think for sure you know what you like. Have a look at some of the others as well. And don't forget the cultural influence. You can have, for example, French country. That's a beautiful, beautiful design style that isn't overtly represented here. Rustic style, I guess, would go along with that. So don't leave anything out. Have a look, but it must be labeled something from this list. I need something to be able to gauge my assessment of your work against. If it's wide open, I have nothing to gauge against. So it's more fair for you to do that. Okay, so it gives you a better chance at a better grade. And you need to pick that out because at the bottom of your grid drawing, your simple box form drawing, you're going to need to position your title block. Now, when you open up Word, it always looks as if you can only have 72 points for the size of your type. That's very misleading. What can happen though is that you can change that number. You just click on it. Now, I'm assuming you're going to use Word. You don't have to use Word. You can use whatever font you want from wherever you want. You're just looking for something that would be suitable and compatible with the design style that you're looking for. Okay, so I've conjured up Word here. If I look down the list, it says it only goes to 72. But if I do this, I can make it as big as I want. You see, I've now got 102. So you can do that, very large. And you might have to have it in strips. You might be able to only fit one word, then the next one, then the next one. Now, I'm not saying that 102 is the size you're going to need. I'm just telling you that it's very, very possible to have beyond 72, even though on the list it tells you you can only have 72. And that way, you'll have to print it out on your paper and cut it out and put maybe one word, then the next word, and the next word. And so your title block will be in 3 pieces. Now, this looks like a very small drawing, but remember, it is not. It's a large drawing. If you printed it out on your grid out on 8.5, 11, you could never accomplish the detail and complexity of what we're after in this final drawing. So please do take the effort, make the time. If you didn't get the kit, that you go out and get a good size copy of this. Now, here's our document that tells you everything you need to know. So, master bedroom 2-point perspective grid box form drawing with title block, that's the name of your design style, and shadow mapping. You need shadow mapping as well. And there's a video that's going to talk you through that. And now you've done some shadow mapping, so this you'll know how to do. Here is the point where the light hits the floor. And in the videos, I explain to you how to find that. And then you do your same usual thing. You project through all the corners. The 1.1, I tell you how to do that too. And you're going to draw directly on the grid. Here are all your links to all your videos to look for to draw this. And this is all about the title block. You trim it closely. And we're not putting the floor plan in the title block this term. So if you see that in the video, just ignore it. We're leaving out the figure in the title block this term. And then there's a video for shadow mapping. Shows you how to do that. And you're going to have just one image to hand in. So after it's all said and done, this is what you're handing in. Your grid box drawing, your shadows mapped, your 1-point box included, which you should have a good idea of what it's going to be. It could be on the bed, it could be on the bedside table, could be sitting on here on this bench seating. So we have a wardrobe, we have built-in cabinetry, we have a window with an arc at the top of it, we have a light fixture on the ceiling, 2 bedside tables, a headboard and a footboard, and a carpet. Don't forget the carpet. You have to measure that out too with the squares. And a 1-point element that could be, usually it's on top of the bed or on top of the coffee table or on the bench. And we're going to fill up the bookcase later on too. But these are the things that we're going to start with. Everyone's drawing is going to be the same drawing. And then from there, after week 9, we'll begin to make it more specific to what it is that you want to draw, you're drawing. Okay. So, and you can also look for canopy beds because we can do those as well, or 4 posters. Don't feel that you have to limit yourself to a bed with a headboard and a footboard. We're just putting that in now for a couple of reasons. One is that you need to be aware of what these fundamental measurements are, sort of across the board general measurements of furniture. You're getting acquainted with that. But when you just choose a design style, yours may deviate from that quite a bit. So we'll show you how, and that's another learning area. You can see how to deviate from those. What do you do? How do you do it? So that's very good as well. I'm still getting some pretty funny photographs. Remember, this is perspective. If it's not completely straight, then your perspective is going to look funny. So take your time, photograph it a couple of times, and don't send it to me upside down. There's nothing I can do. How am I going to deal with that? Review them. Don't give up. Don't give up. You can't give up. Keep going. Keep trying. And if you're having trouble, Google it. That's what I always do. It works. It really does. And remember now, we're on our fourth assignment. So if you hand it in late, then it's deducted 20%. Now this is the last thing that it's ever possible for you to hand in late, because week 12 some things do, and week 11 you can't hand those in late. They have to be on time. Otherwise, I can't mark your final assignment. So you've got to have that in. If you don't hand your work in as one PDF, in this case there's only one image, so that's not going to be a problem. But in future, if you do that, then it's late and you're 20% deducted. If it's pretty photographed, or it's upside down or backwards and I can't read it or see it or mark it, then it's late. And I'll tell you about it, and you have within that 1 week to hand it in as a late assignment. I put the evaluation on a separate page this time. So here are the things: master bedroom 2-point perspective, grid box form drawing, title block, shadow mapping. I'm going to be looking to see that your perspective is correct in all your items. This is a very good thing for you to have as well, because these are the things you're going to need to find when you go shopping for a design style. Your bed, there's seating at the foot of the bed, but it doesn't have to be seating. It could be a hope chest or a cedar chest. And you need bedside tables, your carpet, your wardrobe, your window. How are you going to cover your window? What kind of window treatments? Window treatment means draperies, blinds. That's window treatment. Not the shape of the window, but how, okay, that plays a role, of course, but how are you going to dress it up? And your headboard and footboard, if you're going to use it, you may want a 4-poster bed or a canopy. And you look for a lighting fixture, a pennant light for the ceiling. And there's built-in cabinetry with shelving. Now, this shelving, one of the most difficult things in the world is to fill these bookshelves. So you need to start looking right now for the type of thing you'd like to put on those bookshelves. Your 1-point perspective box, is it correct in perspective? Then I'm going to look to see that you've got the correct heights for everything. Everything's the right width. Everything has the correct depth. And everything is correctly placed. And your 1-point object, is it scaled relative to all the rest of the things in the room? It's kind of a bit of a wild card. When you put it in, you're doing it a lot by eye. And you know, no furniture details at this point. Everyone's drawing is going to look the same. Don't forget to outline everything carefully in black ink when you're done. Don't forget your wall and ceiling and floor lines, outline them. You have this shape, the exact size that you've been asked for. You've achieved that. And just apply your pencil washes very lightly and neatly, okay? And so that I can see your boxes in behind, the lines of your boxes that we can't see, that are covered up by the front of the box. And the title box, you trim it neatly and put it at the bottom there. And your shadow mapping. I have to make sure that you've got the correct spot on the floor. Did you find that correctly? And that all of these fellas have their correct vanishing point and correct shadows. Please note that this is process work for exercise 5 as well as the final assignment. I can't mark either of those unless I've marked this work and on time. The end of the story for exercise 4, or the beginning, because I haven't started yet, is this is what you're handing in. You're handing in a grid box form drawing based on a floor plan and the given information. You're shadow mapping it, and then you're going to put your chosen design style on the bottom.